Hello and welcome to SweetSpotDFS. This is a StatFit video for the 2020 US Open. This is the second video in my US Open series, if you want to call it that. The first one being course fit. And what I did in that, basically did a course preview to see which shot shape mattered off the tee and into the green. Married that up with the shot shapes of the golfers in this field, at least the ones that I have data on. And then we looked at grass stats to see who did well on POA. Wrapped it up with my favorite course fit plays. I'm basically going to be doing that for this video. Only we're going to be looking at swing stats. And really only primarily from 2019, because I don't have swing stats from 2018. But I am also going to add recent form from 2013 and on. So from 2013 to present day. I have your recent form from the last 7 weeks. We'll also look at the tournament prior to the US Open to see if finishing positions there mattered or just not playing in general mattered. We'll get into that, and then I'll wrap it up with my favorite StatFit plays. Before we get into that, I want to remind you guys that I have a spreadsheet out there for you guys to use. There is a free US Open spreadsheet that Chad Eckert from the Fantasy Golf Pod and myself created. We collaborated together. We created this. It has a bunch of good pieces of information on here. Anything from, strokes gained total, or tee to green, approach, putting, official world golf ranking, cuts made, age, college residency, at least where they call home through the PGA. We have a bunch of notes from the PGA Tour media, as well as our own notes, narratives, that kind of thing. We also have our own tabs here at the bottom. Chad has his own called the Fantasy Golf Pod. I have my own called SweetSpotDFS, where you will find the bucket system and tournament history, recent form, overall POA average. So those are all pieces of information you can grab. Again, it's free. I'll have a link in the description. I also have it pinned at the top of my Twitter. You can find it all there. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the spreadsheet. So I have the 2019 recent form tab up, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on each of these tabs. We're going to look at every year going back to 2013. What I want you guys to do is keep track, really, of finishing positions here the week before. That would be the column right before the recent form average. And also keep track of the recent form average. How many different colors do you see? I have it kind of color-coded by the stoplight, the colors of the stoplight. Green is good, green means go. Red is bad, means stop. You're going to see it kind of fluctuates a little bit. Now, how much? I fully haven't looked at it, or I haven't looked at it fully. I'm going to guess we're going to see a lot of solid play for all of the recent forms. So just keep track of that. But yeah, let's start out with, one other thing. Look at the tournament history. Now, for 2019, it looks like having some tournament history mattered. It didn't matter how good. Recent form, having a solid recent form mattered, and it really didn't matter if there was a missed cut within the last 7 weeks. I mean, we almost see every golfer up here with a missed cut within the last 7 weeks. We don't see many golfers playing the week before. Now, the Canadian Open was the tournament that preceded this one, which Rory McIlroy won, finished top 10. So basically we have 2 golfers here who finished top 10 at the Canadian Open, finishing top 10 at the US Open. And then we have Brooks. Last year we looked at his last finish, at a tournament, kind of like, that's not really good heading into this tournament. But then a bunch of us were thinking, well, it's Brooks Koepka. It's major season. He does well at all majors. Fire him up. And obviously, if you did, it was good for you guys. But yeah, having a 50th place finish beforehand does lead to a little bit of caution. It's just that with an elite golfer at 11.6, probably doesn't really matter. Let's go ahead and go into 2018. Now we have a few more finishing positions the week before. This would be the St. Jude Invitational prior to becoming the WGC St. Jude. So we had a full field. It was a cut. There would be a cut involved. That's where you see these 85s. Those are miscuts. But either way, you still see a solid recent form average heading into this tournament. Again, this calculates the last 7 weeks of finishing positions and just puts it into an average, which I call recent form. Tournament history here mattered, obviously. Look, the whole top 20 had played in the US Open at one point in time or another. Could have been last week or the year before. It might have been a few years before. But they all had some form of recent or of tournament history. So, just pointing that out, again, keep track of the different colors here. In 2017, we see about the same amount of golfers inside the top 10 with finishing positions from the week before, meaning they played the week before. It's nearly the same. I mean, if I were to flip through these, I see one more missed cut in 2018, but basically the same amount of plays that happened. But still, again, not playing the week before, definitely a huge benefit for these golfers. Two golfers that pop out right away, Xander and Trey Mullinix. Now, this is before Xander really became, I shouldn't say popular. I think he has a win during this season at the Greenbrier. I can't remember if it actually happened after the US Open or before, but he did have good finishing positions. Trey Mullinix kind of came out of nowhere. And I would say it's kind of I don't know if this is going to happen this year. This was at Erin Hills. So, and it was at basically a defenseless Erin Hills. There was no wind, which they were expecting. Like, wind was its defense. So this was more of a low-scoring affair. Either way, still a lot of the golfers that you see up here are grinder type of golfers. Like, they grind it out. Same with 2018. Now, this was Shinnecock. This was the infamous Phil Mickelson playing ping pong with himself, basically, before the ball stopped. It was tough conditions, and you see nothing but grinder golfers up there. So again, 2017, you see it, although it was a low-scoring affair. It still was tough. Green still rolled fast and firm, much like we're going to see here. But again, keep track of the week before. Keep track of tournament history. As we get closer to 2013, I would assume that the tournament history is I wouldn't say so much go out the window, but we're going to have less and less finishing positions to go from. 2013 is my starting point. I don't record data prior to 2013. So if we had some older golfers who have no tournament history, you can assume they do. But once we get closer there. Basically, from 2016 and on, what I'm trying to tell you guys is having some tournament history matters. Unless you can find a good potential golfer like a Xander Schauffele, I would say only play golfers who have tournament history. First timers, not really the greatest track record. 2016 is the infamous Oakmont, the first Dustin Johnson win. And again, we see nothing but tournament history. Not much play the week before, but we do see a top 10. It's worth noting. Recent form, again, we see a lot of the same color schemes that we've been seeing. Really good, obviously, with green. Pretty terrible with the red. All in all, it's wide open. Now, I would say keep track of some of these guys that you see with this bad recent form. If we keep going back, Tommy Fleetwood, 7,400, 78, 68. We're going to see a lot of low-priced guys, 7.5, 7.6, 7.1. By the way, all of these golfers then we knew had potential, just haven't proven themselves. So maybe that's something we think about and we keep in mind. But either way, as you see with a lot of these recent forms heading in, it didn't really matter one way or another. Obviously, find your favorite golfers with good recent form. It's not necessary to play all 6 with good recent form. Just all I'm trying to get at is you don't need to be afraid. Okay, so in 2015, not many finishing positions the week before. Pretty good recent form, probably better than what we've seen, going through the last few years. Charles Schwartzel had your, bad recent form heading into this. Shane Lowry had the worst. Now, he was basically strictly a European golfer, and his missed cut was at the Players' Championship. So we have to keep that in mind as well. And this was the Players in May, not the Players typically in, not typically, but now that's moved to March. But yeah, look at how many, even like last year finishing positions inside the top 20, no placements, and then tournament history mattering. Like, I have only 2 years of data that I'm pulling from prior to this year. Look how important tournament history mattered. Just having some. Now we get into the years that don't have tournament history, but obviously you can see a lot of the golfers played the year before. And it could have been Brooks' first time. I know it wasn't Eric Compton's first time. And actually, maybe it was. It could have been. But definitely not Jimmy Walker's first time. Recent form, again, matters. A up-and-comer. I think Ricky had been on tour for a while, so to say an up-and-comer is, whatever. But someone with potential, obviously, with poor recent form doing well. And then also finishing position, only 3 golfers the week before. Just kind of keeps going to show that it's probably best to play golfers who didn't play the week before. And then in 2013, same thing applies just about with everything. So keep that in mind. Okay, let's go ahead and I'm going to actually just show you the 2018 DK page. I don't have much for data. I do have off the tee and approach, which I don't think really matters all that much when we can't really review the rest of the information. But I figured I would show you guys who was at the top of the leaderboard and try to give you some kind of, now these are by rankings. Yeah, this is completely pointless. We'll just skip past this. Okay. 2019 DK page. We're not going to go over starting hole or tee time or odds. We're going to hide all of this information. And what I'm going to do is really just talk about the swing stats. We're going to come back to the top 20 stats of golfers inside the top 10. And then just see how much, well, we'll review that and then review the 2020 page. But let's go ahead. We already went through tournament history yesterday in the course fit video. I'm going to keep recent form up. No, we went through recent form. I'm sorry. With 2019. I'm just going to hide all of this right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into tee to green. Now, what I'm going to do from here, go ahead. Here are all the stats that you see. You can either pause the video, screenshot this, take a look, but I'm not going to come back to the top 10 and then talk about, whatever. What I'm going to do instead, we're going to sort this from best to worst and only look at the top 20 golfers, because I feel like most DFS players, when someone says, hey, a certain stat is important, they're looking at the top 6, or they're looking to make a lineup of 6 golfers with the top players. If you can fit a salary of these guys in, then obviously play all 6. So that would be 49,200 right there. You can make that lineup, but would it be any good? You would have had the winner, so yeah, you would have. I mean, this actually was a pretty good lineup. I honestly just did this out of randomness. But what I'm trying to get at is, I'm guessing some players are going to be starting at the top and then trying to fit other golfers in as they go down. But here you go, tee to green. Top guys, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 golfers inside the top 10. And we can expand that to 8, 9, 10 golfers inside the top 20. That's nearly half. So tee to green here last year mattered quite a bit. How about off the tee? Probably going to see a lot of the same. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 golfers inside the top 10. So off the tee was important. How about approach? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 golfers for approach. Same number with tee to green. Not with tee to green, but it all kind of rolls into tee to green. Like you see a lot of the same. All of these green golfers up here. It all feeds into each other. I mean, tee to green, approach. Tee to green, off the tee. Tee to green, approach. Again, all of it, it just kind of goes hand in hand. If you do have good tee to green, you're most likely going to have good approach. So just kind of throwing that out there. And especially when the field has a bunch of golfers that don't have stats. I mean, like, how many is that? 61 golfers in 2019 did not have stats. That's nearly half of the field. It's pretty easy to get in the top 20. But also what that's telling you, golfers who don't have stats, maybe we just ignore them. I mean, Victor Hovland probably would have helped out some lineups last year, 6,700, pretty good. But for the most part, everyone had stats. So having some of these European golfers come over here might not be all that beneficial. Around the green, we've talked about it. I shouldn't say we have, but in the industry, it's well known that this course is going to be tough, and having good scrambling skills matters. Well, scrambling skills are baked into around the green. Scrambling skills are if you miss the green in regulation, how well are you at making a par from there? So obviously a par 4 in regulation is hitting the green on your second shot, so you have a putt for birdie. Obviously, if you make it, you get a 3 on the hole. If you miss the green there and you have to chip up, how likely are you making a par? That's a scramble. That's scrambling stats. Same thing applies for around the green. Around the green are strokes gained within 30 yards of the green. So that's all of your all around the green. It doesn't only matter for pars. Obviously, golfers could try to hit a green in 2 on a par 5, or even try to bomb a drive on a par 4. If you're within 30 yards, now the around the green stats kick in. There was kind of a joke about Bryson breaking that model because he didn't have any approach stats for the Rocket Mortgage because he was in everything within 30 yards of the green. It's kind of a joke. It's not absolutely true, but it did. He had some crazy weird numbers. Anyways, around the green is something that a lot of people, basically it's scrambling, but again, that's baked into around the green. A lot of people are talking about that type of stat. And as you can see, last year didn't really matter. Again, last year, a little easier conditions than what they probably would have expected, because there really wasn't any wind when they played that tournament. So the golf course was kind of defenseless, as they say. I think around the green is going to matter a little bit, but honestly, if your around the green stats are really good, I should watch how I say that. You could have really good around the green stats and also have a really good scoring average, which would entail, you being a good golfer. But I would say most of the around the green stats that are good probably are due to the golfers just not, being that great at having birdie opportunities, essentially. Putting stats, does that matter? We have 1, 2, 3 golfers inside the top 10, 5 golfers inside the top 20. That's not bad, for putting stats. A lot of people hate looking at putting stats, but obviously having some coming into this tournament, at least positive, 0.3 and above, it's good. Proximity, does that matter? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 golfers with inside the top 10 that were inside the top 20 for proximity. So not terrible. And then you can add 1, 2 more inside the top 20 that were inside the top 20. I know it sounds weird, but it's kind of funny to say sometimes. Green in regulation, does that matter? 1, 2, 3, 4 golfers inside the top 10. You had your winner, Gary Woodland, up there. And then 1 more inside the top 20. And I believe my last stat is birdie or better. I actually have scrambling stats. I forgot that I had that. I do not have that for this year. Just fair warning. birdie or better, did that matter? It sure looks like it did. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 golfers with 7 golfers inside the top 10 that were top 20 birdie or better. And then we can look at scrambling. I guess I could probably add that to my 2020 spreadsheet, but it'll be for the DFS strategy video tomorrow. Okay, so here are your best scramble golfers. As you can see, didn't really play into account for last year's tournament. So maybe not something to really look at going into this tournament for the 2020 US Open. Obviously, I think you probably should look at it somewhat, but by all means, you don't have to depend on it. So that was your 2019 DK breakdown. We're going to come back, look at top 20 stats, and see how that might correlate into this year's tournament. Okay, 2020. Let's look at all the golfers that have good stats. Actually, let's just look at all their stats. I'm going to hide. Well, let's hide this. We want to keep recent form available because that is something we were looking at. Now, I don't really have it sorted by color like I do with other tournaments. However, like there was a clear cutoff. You know, it was your top 20 were green, like light green, then went yellow, orange. Probably should have kept it that way, but this is all scaled by it's all scaled by performance. You can see the darker the green, the better. As it fades to red, obviously the worse, you know, getting worse. So obviously you can see with the top recent form here. I personally didn't really look at your top guys with recent form. Like I didn't do a count like on 2019. If I were to open this back up and look at recent form, probably should have, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 golfers inside the top 10, 6 golfers inside the top 20, and actually they all kind of fell closer to this 20 recent form average. Sure, we had one guy up here that finished 12th, but for the most part, and Webb, you know, 16th, but for the most part, recent form, having really good recent form coming into this. So like these guys up here might not matter. Now I'm not saying disregard that because that would be silly, but 2019, if 2019 proved anything, it and actually honestly it goes back. Like if we were to go, let's do that. Let's do a quick deep dive. Let's just go by recent form every year. You can see what it looks like for your top 20 up here. I'm just going to go through this really fast. Try to find your winner. You know, obviously we see a couple up there. Actually, that was a good one. 2018, you have, you know, 3 golfers up here. One being your most expensive one that did pretty well. 2017. 2016. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I mean, we do have some missed cuts, but you also have your winner up there, who was 4th from, you know, the top. With the 4th best recent form, I should say. 2015, again, a lot of good ones. We have Jordan Spieth down here with 26.2. Still seeing a lot of green, so I mean, recent form looks like it matters. I think you can grab 6 golfers, especially a winner within this range. So I guess that's actually not a bad way to look at this. We're probably going to find 2nd at the very least. I mean, that is the worst position we've seen of top 20. And thankfully, how I have the spreadsheet zoomed in, the golfers you see here are your top 20. So it only can show 20 golfers at once. So Brooks, 27. Fleetwood at 32. Koepka again at 19. We also have Rose at 25. 12, 26, 16. So basically what I'm seeing is anything between 12, well now 12 and 36, but it would have been 12 and 35 or 25 is what I was kind of getting at. I guess 27, never mind. 32. Okay. So either way, when we look at 2018, I would say a lot of these golfers, I think we might find our winner. Oh, well, I think that's kind of an easy thing to say. We're going to find our winner, or we're going to find a second place guy within these golfers here. And we're going to find a bunch of top 10s also. It might be worth, I might just make a recent form lineup. And if I were to do that, I guess I could put Berger on one, Simpson, Kisner. I should actually watch how many 5s I'm using. That's not a good omen. How about we go with Xander first? Xander, Webb, Kisner. How about we put Noren on that lineup, Palmer, and one more that needs to be under $8,900, Patrick Reed. Maybe you go something like that. Patrick Reed falls within that winner lineup, and obviously we can avoid players like Brian Harman and Chesson Hadley. So for a recent form, that's pretty good. Okay, so we went through recent form. That'll be fun to enter in the description below for the timestamps. But either way, my problem, my issue, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and hide recent form. Tee to green stats. Here are you guys, top tee to green. Remember in 2019, we found seven golfers inside the top 10 that had, top 20 tee to green stats. Pick your poison, basically, like a bunch of good golfers up here. And if you wanted to make a tee to green lineup, sure, that's not terrible. Can we actually do that with this lineup? Probably not. Like of golfers who did well. So Gary at 8.6. I guess Benny Ann 69. Adam Scott 8.6. Xander at 8.7. Stenson at 7.6. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 golfers, and then John Rahm. That's 49,000 on the button. So you could make a lineup this way too. So maybe that's what I don't ever make lineups this way. And the more I look at it, the more I'm like, okay, we can make a lineup. How about we go with Matsuyama and then Tony Finau? There are so many 4s up here though. What did we see in 2019? 4-1, 6-1, 1-1, 2-1, 1-2, 2-1. Yeah, I like that. I don't really like what I'm seeing here, especially for price. Like this is difficult. I guess we go with Harris English as just another odd color. 8K with Victor. I guess we go with another 4-1. I mean, I don't want to load up on 4-1s. Oh, that's our first one. Never mind. Paul Casey, maybe. That's 50,000 on the button. That's crazy. I wasn't even paying attention to how many I clicked. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There you go. There's a lineup you could do. And you really can't mix and match any of them because the only one you could do is Paul Casey to any of the 7K guys, or any of the 9K guys down to an 8.5 guy. But we have 1-4-1, a 2-1, another 4-1, a 5-1, a 1-1, and another 4-1. Don't really care about the 4-1s, in all honesty. That is the bucket system, of course. Maybe we take Hideki out and add somebody. I guess Joaquin Niemann is really the only other guy I can pivot to other than Corey Connors, but I'm not going to pivot to Corey Connors. Actually, what we could do, get rid of those guys, put Corey down, and now I have someone, I can choose anyone under 9 or under 10, so I can go with Webb. There we go, 49,700. I have all the colors that I need. Perfect. Here we go. There's a tee to green lineup. Either way, I'm not advocating for that really, but while we go through this, here you're off the tee. And while we go through this, just keep track of some of these golfers. If you see the same guy over and over again, that's probably a good sign. So Paul Casey, we see once again. We see Victor Hovland once again. Obviously, a lot of these other guys we see again. So don't be afraid to use them. Here you go with approach. Now we see Neiman up here. We see last year's champ, Gary Woodland. Paul Casey at 7,900. Once again, so Paul Casey, just another cheap guy with really good stats. Like that probably, Trying to find the comp in 2019. Who was around that. Well, I mean, he's 8K. He's basically Paul Casey of last year, right? They're the same exact player. Paul Casey, a 4'1", 7'9", all good stats, 0.8, 0.5, 0.6. 0.8, 0.5, 0.6. Gary Woodland probably is just a slightly better. 0.6, 0.5. Pretty darn close, honestly. But either way, I'm not going to stay on that too long. Around the green. Here are your around the green golfers. So I like Jason Day quite a bit. I also do like Hideki Matsuyama. I'm really not using around the green all that much when determining the players that I like, but obviously you can. Here are your top 20 golfers, tee to green. I would just either pause the video, screenshot, or just write down some of the golfers you like. I'm not going to go through many of these guys. Actually, one thing I'm going to add is late ad Rory Sabatini shows up here. That's interesting to see. Okay, putting stats. Matthew Fitzpatrick, a favorite golfer amongst a lot of guys in the DFS industry, primarily because he plays tough golf courses really well. Putting stats are going to be needed, but you can see his around the green stats, not very good. And obviously he better be hitting a lot of greens and making a lot of putts. Obviously there's an avenue for that to happen, but it might be a little too difficult. But here are your top putting golfers. I feel like Bryson and Jon Rahm kind of stand out because of their tee to green and off the tee stats. Obviously, I think Jon Rahm, probably a little bit more of your all-around player. I want to see, where is DJ, I wonder? Dustin Johnson. Here he is, down here. So 0.2. So he's basically half of the strokes behind in putting than Jon Rahm. And I'm not sure exactly if that matters or not, but interesting to mention. Last year, I think Gary Woodland was top 3 in green and reg. Here's our boy Xander, who is on the thumbnail, one of my favorites. If not Xander, I do like Webb. It's a very natural pivot from Xander to Webb. I think that's good. We also see Paul Casey up here. Actually, let's see if we can find more of a correlation between Gary Woodland. Okay, so Gary Woodland was what, 7th, 8th, the 8th best green and reg golfer. But $8,000, and then there's JT 9.3. You know, I guess we could go 9.7, 7.9, pretty close, or even Harris English at 7.9. He obviously could be the same. Personally, I don't really like the 5.1 for his bucket score, but we could also look at someone like JT or Shane Lowry. I'm not going to go to Shane Lowry. I will play some, but he's not my equivalent of Gary Woodland from last year. But here you go. Here are you guys' best green and reg. How about best proximity? Chesson Hadley is at the top. At $6,300, that might be a good fill-in play, especially if you want to grab more golfers at the top of the salary. Chesson just might be a natural add. And really, none of the rest of the stats are terrible. This actually might be a good place for him, honestly. And he could be kind of your Trey Mullinax or Xander Schauffele from 2016 or 2017. But we do see Webb up there. That's obviously a good sign. I really don't know if proximity is going to matter at this tournament. The slopes on the greens are ridiculous. So I don't think there's really much control that you're going to have. It's all about strategy. And I guess if there's one person that I trust with strategy up here, it is definitely Webb Simpson. But it's definitely fun to speculate. Okay, birdie or better. I don't think this is really going to matter. We did see, 7 golfers inside the top 20 at Pebble last year at the US Open that had good birdie or better stats. So obviously you could take golfers from here. I'm personally not going to be looking at that. So I'm going to go ahead and skip past that. One stat I do want to look at, bogey avoidance. So your top guys, bogey avoidance. Webb is at the top, so just more reasons to play Webb. Plus, he's a good course fit. We see Jon Rahm. If he has control over his golf ball where he can draw the golf ball, all the better. I'm not going to say one way or another if I like John. I do, but I really do like DJ. It's going to be difficult to determine my ownership percentages. But then you see Harris English, Xander Schauffele shows up again. I really like Xander. I don't like these golfers up here that are last year 5s. Daniel Berger is going to be played quite a bit, and rightfully so. He's been playing really well this year, and having good bogey avoidance is important, I think, at this tournament. And especially if you can kind of correlate that or add that, mix it in with around the green, I think you're going to find a lot of good golfers this way. And by the way, Hideki Matsuyama looking really good as well. So that is going to be the end of that recap. What I wanted to get to, or what I want to add, is the top 20 stats. It's just something to look at. I don't think it really matters all that much, but when you look at golfers at the top of the 2019 leaderboard and see how many of them finished top 20 of the stats that we talked about, like obviously you see Hideki Matsuyama at the top. You really don't see a missed cut. Obviously down here, Justin Thomas, Lucas Glover, Keegan Bradley. Only golfer out of that would be JT. That was kind of a surprise. 9,300. I don't think we really anticipated seeing, like Justin Thomas missing the cut. It's going to happen. One of our top guys is going to miss the cut. But for the rest of them, that's pretty solid. Meaning good golfers are going to do well at the US Open. The cream will rise to the top. So for 2020, your best stats are right in front of you right now. So these are golfers with top 2020 stats. I should say top 20 stats. Oh my gosh. I always somehow butcher this. These are golfers who are top 20 in the stats we covered. Not bogey avoidance. I didn't add that, but everything prior to bogey avoidance is included in this number. When we flip between 2019 and 2020, we saw missed cuts happening from 5 and under. 6 and above looked pretty good. So it took 13 or 12 golfers to get to that 5. In 2020, in order to get to that 5, we have to go through 16 golfers. So I think we're probably going to see a missed cut, somewhere in here. But for the most part, I think our best golfers to choose from, to anchor our lineups with, are going to be right here. And no surprise, right? You see a lot of golfers up here. High salaries. I mean, compared to 2019, pretty similar, honestly. Very similar. So our winner, 8K. Our high price guy was Brooks. He finished second. Our next high price guy was DJ. He finished 35th. That's not going to be good enough. But I guess look at all the other top guys. It might be worth just fading the top guys. Like, look at all your 8K golfers. I know Chad Eckert likes to pepper the 8K range. You could have peppered the 8K range, and maybe he did during the US Open last year. This all looks really good. Like, even Webb Simpson you could consider in the 8K range. The average between Jon Rahm and Webb Simpson would be 8K. Like, that would be a solid lineup right there. I think we probably already went over this. Maybe not. Well, unfortunately, you can't make that happen. That is over the salary. So let's see, what can we do to trim this up? Well, we go from Jon Rahm to Paul Casey. That's 49,800. So really, you could pepper the 8K range. You can see right there on the screen, all golfers within the 8K range. What can we do in 2020? We've got 8K. Let's add 9 in that mix. 8.5, 8.1, 7.9, and 7.9 once again. 49,400. So you could play these golfers right here. My only reservation about that is if we're going by the bucket system, it's not a preferable assortment of buckets. So I don't know if it's going to work out for this year, but it is fun to kind of speculate with that. So my favorite stat fit plays I'm going to choose from, basically, we're going to go from our top 20 stats here. And my favorite plays are also going to be in correlation with some of the course fits. So I like Xander. I like Patrick Reed. Both draw the golf ball. I do like Hideki. I like Dustin Johnson. And I like Webb Simpson. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to add Paul Casey. I don't really like Paul Casey, but here are 6 golfers that I think have the best stat fit. And I know I kind of cheated using the top 20 stats here, but, you know, I guess when we look at the leaderboard here, I guess we have a couple guys that have 2 or less. 3 guys, actually. Should I look at some of the guys down here with 2? Just to give you a couple more golfers that I like. Weird to see Justin Rose down here, but obviously that might be a good play and a good pivot for Matthew Fitzpatrick. I don't think a lot of people are playing Justin Rose. I really don't know about Gary Woodland. I don't think I have one tell or another for Gary Woodland. I guess I really don't see this being the same as 2019. So I'm not going to grab any more golfers than Rose and Fitzpatrick. But yeah, with that, those were my favorite stat fit plays. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will have a DFS strategy video for you guys tomorrow morning. Okay, see you later.